And those two families risked their lives. And he would hide in one house for a little while, then go to the other house for a little while. And he kept doing that while he formulated a plan to escape. Have in mind that when Papi sent us to Puerto Rico, he knew that there was a good chance that that was it. That there was, he was going to be dead. So now he's formulating a plan to get out. He contacted some people, said, if you go to this beach, this particular beach, at a certain time of night, you need to swim out a couple 100 yards and just tread water and wait there, and somebody's going to pick you up. So he goes out to the beach one night and swims out. By the way, he was an excellent swimmer. He goes out and he's treading water one night, 2 nights. Then he starts seeing these fins, And so he said, no, I'm going to go out there with the sharks. So after about the 3rd night, he said, I'm not doing this anymore because I'm not going to make it. I'm just going to be shark bait, So he stopped doing that, tried to formulate another plan. And he finds another person who told him that there was a captain of a trawler, a fishing trawler, that was trying to get people out of Cuba. You have to pay the money. But you have to take a train to get there. And he takes the train. And when he's on this train, one of the officers of the secret police that he knew and who knew him was in the same train. He's armed, and he knew that this would be it. Because they're not taking me alive. So anyway, he was able to hide with this guy in the train. He gets to the port and goes to the trawler where the captain was waiting for him. And there was about 3 other military officers that were also trying to escape Cuba. The captain will tell this guy, you get into this hole and you get over here. And my dad, they had a harpoon box. They took a harpoon box, opened it up, and put my dad in the harpoon box and nailed it shut, and stuck it under the deck. And the trawler harpoon box cannot move, blackness, cannot move, and get seasick. Cannot move. So he said, well, I may drown in my own vomit. I'm not going to be able to stand it. And then he actually says a prayer. Says a prayer that, Lord, I'm yours. And then all of a sudden he says that his seasickness went away completely. Just about that time, a Cuban patrol boat stops the trawler. He could hear through the deck. And he could hear when they boarded it. They boarded the trawler looking for contraband. And of course, what could you do? They didn't find anything. He got away. So they delivered him right at where the international waters begin. And an American Coast Guard cutter picks all the officers, picks them up, takes them to Key West. Key West, the CIA is waiting. They knew who he was because because of the position that he had held. So the CIA is waiting on him, and they put him in a hotel room. They took care of him for 3 days, 3 nights, and they debriefed him. They wanted to find out what was happening in Cuba, what was the conditions. because they were talking about the Bay of Pigs invasion. They did preaching for 3 days, and he didn't give them the answers that they wanted to hear. They wanted to hear, yes, because here's what they had a map of Cuba in the room, and they said, okay, what do you think would happen if we put 800 men or 1,000 men over here and would basically think the Cuban people will revolt? And my father said, no. Cuban people are scared. They're not going to revolt. So anyway, he did not give them the answer that they wanted to hear. So they let him go. Now, we're in Puerto Rico this time. He goes to Miami and reports to the same guy that defended him in the court-martial, a guy named Miró Cardona. This guy, his uncle, is supposed to be the president of Cuba once they take Cuba over. They had formulated a plan. All these Cubans in exile formed an invasion force. They were training in different parts, Guatemala. There's some camps in Puerto Rico, some camps in Texas. They were formulating a plan to invade Cuba, and in hopes that they could take it over again. The idea was that they would establish a beachhead that they could control, and then Miró Cardona and his staff would go to the beachhead, declare sovereignty, and ask for help from the United States. That was their plan. So Miró Cardona asked my dad to join the invasion. And my dad basically said, well, first I gotta see what you got. I mean, I'm not gonna just jump in here. Miró Cardona asked, okay, well, go out and do an inspection, see what you think. So the first thing he did is he looked at their plan, and he traveled to a couple of the camps, and he came back to Miró Cardona and told him, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. You're depending on the CIA. You're depending on the Navy. You're depending on the Marines. You can't do it like that. You have to be able to go in there on your own and take the island on your own. But you can't do it like that. I'm not part of it. I'm not here to commit suicide. Refuse that. And then he finally joined us in Puerto Rico. We were in Puerto Rico for just what, 3 or 4 months? Yeah, most. Yeah. And my grandfather, my step-grandfather, was that in fact? They sold the factories they had in Puerto Rico. And they bought a huge plant. I remember how big that thing was in Jamaica. So now we all moved to Kingston, Jamaica. That's where we learned how to speak English, by the way. So we moved to Kingston, Jamaica, and we were there for 2 years, working the factory. And this step-grandfather, his name was Julian. He was a gambler, a drinker, step-granddad. He had his good parts, I mean, but one night, drunk, gets to gambling, and he gambled away the whole factory. Wow. So all of a sudden now, my parents, we didn't know, we were just kids, we just having fun, we didn't care, we didn't know. But my parents, now all of a sudden, they're in a strange country, we still in exile, So now, they have to wait for a visa so they can return to Puerto Rico. Because the idea is to go back to Puerto Rico. So Puerto Rico is the United States. And if once we get to Puerto Rico, then they can begin their path to citizenship. Got the visa, went to Puerto Rico, and we became an American family. That was my father's dream to start an American family, and he did it.
Well, in 1959, after the revolution, when my father escaped, none of the prisoners had an opportunity to get their belongings. There's a speculation that the warden, Blanco Rico, was assassinated. And therefore, his mother kept the ring. My father ended up going to Puerto Rico, and then Jamaica, and then back to Puerto Rico. Then we came to the United States. And while we were here, they had visited California, where there was visiting some relatives for my mother. And the mother of the warden learned of my father's coming to California, and she arranged a meeting with him. When he came with my mother to see her, she said, I got something that I've had for me for 30 years, and you need it back. Excuse me for being a little sentimental here, but she revealed the ring to him, the gold ring that she had kept for almost 30 years. And he was totally amazed at what she had done. Now let me give you what the ring looked like. It's engraved from both. It's engraved on both sides. It's got my father's initial on one side, and FB is the initials of the president of Cuba, Fulgencio Batista.
They got their residency, their green cards. We all got our green cards. But even then, when we got to Puerto Rico, this part, talking about a strong woman. When we got to Puerto Rico, remember, we had nothing. Everything was lost. So they got to Puerto Rico with only whatever they had in their bags. That's it. That's all they had. So, just enough cash to rent a little broken down little apartment. Not good. And so my dad goes out and starts to find a job. He's trying to find a job. And the food runs out. The food runs out. So whatever food was in the house, my mom had to keep from my dad so that he would have the energy to continue to look for a job. So she was feeding us sugar water. Sugar water. Could you imagine what a mother would feel having to do that to their children? That's tough. That's tough. So even in Puerto Rico, they had to go through that. Start from scratch. And then, because of my dad's mathematical, his brain, the man had a brain that I wish I had just an eighth of his brain. Man. because of his mathematical expertise, he would get hired somewhere and figure out, they were doing a project or something, and he looked at it and go, he made a suggestion, what? You're hired as an engineer. Come here. That kind of stuff. And he just, that's who, he was just like that. So, little by little, move on. We started doing a lot better in Puerto Rico. And then the economy in Puerto Rico tanked. It tanked. So now, they got to start all over. So then we decided we're going to go to the mainland. Here, we're going to go to the mainland. So they decide, my dad takes me with him to New York, and he leaves the rest of the family in Puerto Rico. Goes to New York to see if he can land a good job, and they bring the rest of the family. So we go to New York. I remember the first time I had seen snow. Wow. So we were living in New York with my godfather, black. And he decides that he can't be having a kid tagging along. I'm just getting in the way. So he sends me to Atlanta, to the other part of the family, my mom's side of the family that's living in Atlanta. So I come out, now the family's completely splintered. I'm in Atlanta, Poppy's in New York, and the rest of the family is Puerto Rico. While I'm in Atlanta, he finally finds a job and moved to New Jersey. New Jersey, just across the river. And he brings the rest of the family to New Jersey. And I finished my school year in Atlanta, in Decatur, Georgia, by the way. And then we all get together, and the family is back together in New Jersey. Starting again from scratch. While we're in New Jersey, there's a big Cuban community in New Jersey. So my dad gets a job because, you're Cuban, yeah, come on, get a job. So what happens, as soon as they find out that he was a major in the army, and they start saying, well, were you with Castro or with Batista? What were you? So all of a sudden, hate. So they would start slashing his tires. They just started. So he had to leave that job, go to another job. Same thing again, go to another job. Same thing again. So he had to get away from the Cubans. He had to get away from the Cubans because they're full of hate. So we had to leave New Jersey and start again, come to Atlanta and start again. So when we get to Atlanta, we started again. So, but that was the end of the starting again, right?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, that was the end.
He loved his wife all his life. He only had eyes for her. And of course, she was also a rock. And even though we went through a lot of trials and tribulations, they did mainly. They had one thing in mind, just to preserve the family all the way. And I wish people would understand how good it is to have a mother and a father like we did.
My mother's grandfather was a Spaniard. My mother's father was a Spaniard. My father's mother was a Spaniard that came to Cuba right after the Spanish-American War as a child. And my father's father was also Spaniard. So our lineage is almost originally from Spain. So here we have first generation, second generation, and third generation American, correct? That was my father's dream, to start an American family, and he did it. Well, now you know where he comes from. This is a special story because it's our story. It's our story. Now, it doesn't make us better than anybody else. Everybody has a story. Many other Cubans have had same story or story. They don't have to be Cubans. It could be anybody. So if this story doesn't make it as the better, but it is our story.
See, you called me. Yeah, no, David, I just want to ask you a quick question because I'm doing an interview for
Go ahead.
yeah, for Kimberly's thing there for Poppy. Anyway, listen, do you recall that when Poppy was in the prison, didn't he say something about he was locked in a cage or a box or something?
Oh, yeah.
That's what I thought, because he didn't like roaches very much, did he?
Huh?
He did not like roaches very much.
No, we have the story about the roaches.
That's right. An in-ground insulation cell. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Inside the ground. And it was very small.
Right. Yeah. I think he said it was about 4x4 or something like that.
Yeah, it was very, very small, very uncomfortable. So you have to basically lay on the floor.
Yeah.
The only light came in when they opened the hatch from the top.
Right. Yeah. To feed them and stuff.
To feed them.
Yeah.
And they would feed them. If I remember, a place we used to go. I don't know if it's the same farm. I remember the farm we used to go, occasionally, and that's where I got chased by a bull.
Well, that's what the sugar cane factory was, or the plant.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That was Miró's.
Family there.
Miró from Cardona's family was there.
Oh, it was Miró Cardona?
Yes.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I was too little.
Right.
Okay, but now, there was another place we used to go where we used to hunt it for tarantulas, remember?
Yeah, but yeah, that was that like a banya, or was that in
No, that
No.
was somebody we used in their house.
Yeah, right.
I remember we went maybe more than once, but the kid that lived there, don't remember if it was family or not, taught us how he caught.
Yeah.
What was his name? So those huge spiders, bird spiders.
Yeah, we used to tie the lizards in the string and put it in the holes and drag them out, right?
And then within the procedures, you had to catch a bunch of lizards first.
Right, that's correct. Right. I remember that.
That's where the lizard prisons come in. I remember.
Yeah, I remember that now.
Lizard prisons on the side of this. Like a cutaway in the back of his house.
Yeah, I just don't remember exactly the house.
We into the earth.
Right.
Put little sticks as bars, and we imprisoned the lizards.
Right.